and welcome back to another episode of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, the show where we talk about all the crazy stupid stuff that people do in marketing and how you cannot do crazy stupid stuff, but can instead do really awesome, meaningful, well-intentioned stuff with your time, your energy, and whatever budgets you may have, whether that's small or large. And today we are talking about something that's maybe a little bit more abstract than some of our topics. Like we could talk about AI, that's a little more tangible topic. But today we're talking about finding your way through the mess. And one of the things I deeply believe about marketing is that we spend the majority of our time between 2 points. And there's a lot of lovely psychologists that would call that the messy middle. We are trying to go from one place to another. And whether we're trying to do that in a marketing strategy, or we're trying to do that in building our own business, or express ourselves creatively, there's a lot of this time that we spend in what might look like and what might also feel like the mess. And so today, this is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about finding our way through the mess, not because we eliminated it, but because we are actively moving through it and with it at the same time. And I'm super excited to have my friend Darnell to join me for this conversation, who very conveniently was also in conversation with me on Monday on a different topic around collaboration. So that may or may not end up falling into this conversation today. But Darnell, before I teach too many people about you, it's better from your own mouth. So share with us a little bit about you and where you finding your way through your mess has led you to thus far.
Yeah, so good to be back with you after so much time. You know, this past Monday was so long ago, so there's that. And yes, thank you to those of us watching this now and in the future. And maybe we'll get into a little bit about time, which was part of our pre-conversation here as well. And so it's good to be with you again. I never take being invited to be a part of a conversation for granted. So deepest of gratitude to you, Tracy. Appreciate you. So yeah, I'm Darnell and Darnell Brown, creative polymath, community builder, and spicy storyteller. I work with creatives in one capacity and non-creatives in another capacity, more so one-to-one on things like branding, storytelling, digital marketing. Worked with over 300 clients over the past 18 years. And then with my fellow creative entrepreneurs through Forge, which enables them to grow their impact, ingenuity, and income without sacrificing their values and worth. And marketing can get messy. And you were asking Tracy about my journey through this point, and I think kind of I think being for so long in the messy middle of it all and looking at why things were like that. I think a lot of it also comes from experimentation as well. Those of us who are polymaths know what experimentation is like. We are often attracted to many things, have many interests and hobbies, as well as skill sets. And so we want to do all of these different things. And without a sense of cohesion and synchronicity, like you'll be going in all of the directions. Shiny object syndrome, wondering if you have imposter syndrome as well too, showing up in places and in energies that don't make sense for you because you might not know your Enneagram or your human design. So you're being actually very too reactive. And I think that's probably a good place to start this convo, Tracy, is just like, how do we get here? How do we even, because I'm one of those people that like to peel back all of the onion layers. Like if things are messy, how did we start there? Like, and I think it's too much stimuli, perhaps. It's too much. Okay, well, who do I know to believe? Who's done it the right way? What's a good example that I can model what I'm doing after, but also not be generic and be like a mini version of them, MINI. And it's just you're responding to too many things, so you end up in this cycle of being hyper reactive to everything and anything around you, especially when the clients are coming in and you're answering emails first thing in the morning all the way to the end of your week. and not being as proactive to where you can tune out a lot of those things and focus on really one thing at a time, hyper intentionality, hyper meaningful work, and slow work, slow deliberate, kind of the antithesis to like multitasking even.
Yeah.
Well, I think reactivity is a huge part of why we get very messy in the first place. We're trying to do all of the things at once, and we got new input coming in all the time. Hey, read this book, listen to this podcast. Oh, let me put this on my marketing. Let me try this out. I didn't finish trying this thing out. That's unfinished. Now I'm off to the next thing. So you're just reacting too much. Does that resonate with you? Am I making sense?
That totally resonates with me. And like one of the things when I think about, I mean, because the fact that we are in the messy middle at any given time is like very likely, but there's different experiences that are happening in there. Like one of the things that I have really identified with, and one of the, I think the best way I had heard this verbalized was actually in my like marketing archetype. So my friend Brittany did an exercise with me with like marketing archetypes. So mostly to show me what she did, but I was like, ooh, all of this was about like adventure and exploration. And I was like, when you have that kind of identity and you're in the messy middle, you're just like, I'm figuring it out. And this is what I love. And this is what's fun for me. And apparently that's also a manifesting generator thing. I don't know as much about human design as a lot of my other friends do. But like, I kind of love being in the middle, and I like creating middles, right? Like this point and this point, let's do an experiment and get between the two. But then we're like immediately going to another point because that point wasn't the final destination. It was just like a point on the journey. So like, let's keep going through it. And there's like a fun and excitement associated with the quote unquote mess. But I think where I feel like that energy shifts is when that participation goes from being a proactive participant in the mess to that reactive participant. And now I'm just like, stuff is happening around me and I'm chasing and I'm swirled around by wind. I've lost my direction. And I just like, it feels messy instead of feeling like I'm an active player in the mess. Like I use a lot of examples that are related to sports. Like, Meryl, this one is for you, because Meryl's always complimenting me on my sports analogies. But like, if you're in the middle of a basketball game, people are running back and forth. The ball is going across the court. Sometimes it's going out of the court. Sometimes people are shooting. Sometimes people are falling on the ground. There is a specific level of chaos that is always happening unless the whistle is blown, right? People are just standing waiting for the game to start again. But the game is stopped. The game is not going. You are not making progress. We understand very clearly that there is a degree of chaos associated with this, and we participate in it. We do react to it, but we react to it from a, like, this is what I would do. Right? This is what my position is responsible for. This is how I handle this. I'm fast, so I sprint. Well, like I'm tall, I plant, right? Like we have all these, like, it's very clear in sports how that becomes participating in the mess while also having a structure of sorts to navigate the mess. But then when we take that into business in general, marketing in particular, we don't have that structure to deal with the chaos. We assume we can eliminate the chaos. So then we get stuck in these processes that the desired destination is that there's no chaos anymore. And then you're like, except there's humans. So inevitably there will be some kind of chaos. It could be good. It could be bad. We experience both as the human race, but we try to like eliminate the uneliminatable. I don't think that's a word. We try to eliminate the things that cannot be eliminated. And in so doing, we find ourselves caught up in this chasing of a thing that is like not real. And you can feel it in your energy. And I think that's, again, where I come back to, that's the mess, right? Like that's the part that feels messy instead of the part of like, okay, there's chaos and we navigate. That doesn't have to feel messy if the logic and the belief behind the logic is there. But it happened very easy to get caught up in that reactivity and the messy, because there's also an underlying belief that's supposed to be like that. I'm supposed to have to chase. I'm supposed to have to convince clients to buy my stuff. Like, I mean, you can believe that, but that is a choice. That's a belief that you have. You can also choose not to chase clients and instead attract clients. There's tons of different ways to look at that, right? But looking at the things that allow you, or even like asking the question, if I'm in the middle and I'm in this like feeling messy zone, is that because I'm being overly reactive? And if it is, then maybe there are some things I might try in order to experiment my way out of that.
So a few things. You're a manifesting generator?
I am.
Oh, okay, I am too. So this is actually good for our people watching this. Like two Manny gens in the same space at the same time. We're both apparently, Tracy, really good at ideation and execution. Like, I'd probably rather not be anything else than that out of the four. Okay, so there's that. So that's an interesting thing that we didn't know about each other until now. So there's that. Second thing is, I also use a lot of analogies. Yours is with sports, mine's is more cinematic stuff. But to add on to yours, and to give people just even a different analogy. I mean, it feels a bit like that. I haven't seen the movie, but there was a Saturday Night Live movie that came out recently, or like the movie Birdman, where like there's all this stuff going on behind the scenes of before you see a show on Broadway, just as an example, and all of this chaos and madness. And it feels like you're thrown in where you got, you got your directors trying to give you line, the prop people, all of this stuff. Everybody wants your attention, makeup, hair, makeup, all of this stuff. Then you got to go out there and be true to the moment of being with your scene partners and putting all of that stuff aside.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think is kind of the way out of messy marketing, at least from an experimental standpoint, is to have a really resolute and strong degree of stillness, of recognizing that you're going to be in the center of this storm, of all of this chaos, and you got to tune all of that out. You see it in the sports movies and stuff as well, combining both analogies, actually, sports and movies, where, oh yeah, they're playing basketball, but now suddenly no one is on the court with them. There's no one in the stands. It's just them in the hoop. And that's when your marketing is like, it's aligned. You're sticking with what you need to do. And it's just like, tune all of that out. It's just you at the free throw line. Let's get this ball in this hoop. Let's do this. And we got to tune out all of these people who don't, because I'm on the away team, so they don't want me to make these points. So they're waving those little things, like, and I can see all of that right behind the basket. You got to tune all of that out marketing wise, because again, it's nothing but chaos. I think the antidote to that is to go in the opposite direction, and be really a strong degree of hyper self-awareness, of saying, of risk as well too. Like, this might not work out. This might not be the right marketing strategy for me at this time. But you know what? I at least need to experiment enough to stick with something all the way through, while recognizing that sometimes you do need to pivot when it just isn't working. You miss 5 hoops in a row. Like, at some point, we got to do something differently. But for that first shot, for that first one, sticking through with it all the way through the end, I think that's a way out of messy marketing, out of getting out of the reactive state and saying, I need to be proactive. I have to tune out everything around me. Or I'm at the gym and all of these people are working on all these machines and stuff around me, but it needs to just be me and this equipment right now. It needs to be, all of that is all of these other things that don't really have anything to do with me. And at any given time, you can go to any of these machines, because it's like having all of these different conversations happening all around you, and you can't hear anything, or being on a subway or something like that. But it's just like you got to get really singular and tune a lot of those things out. I feel like to not be as messy in your marketing. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So first of all, to confirm with Meryl, I'm actually a shooting guard, not a point guard, but close.
Okay.
My dribbling is actually not top notch. So I could play point guard, but I was never the best dribbler. So that's why I was shooting guard. But I had the top 3-point average on my team. So It's just making me think of this movie. And so now that we're talking about movies and sports, and I'm thinking about the conversation we had on Monday, which was about Community. It was like wonderful movie with Keanu Reeves called Hardball, where he coaches this like young baseball team, and the pitcher gets in the zone by listening to like, I think it's like a Walkman, like to go back to those days with a cassette tape in it. And he is like, he puts his headphones on and he like gets into his groove. Big Papa is the song, and then he pitches and he can do it. And at one point in the movie, the other team says he can't listen to it because it's not safe for him to not be able to hear the rest of the game. So they take it away, and then he's like, he didn't have a mechanism anymore to like filter out, like to create his stillness. And one of the things, like, it's just one of my favorite, like, everyone watch this. It's like cinematic history that people should just know. But like, so the team starts singing the song so that he can get into his vibe, and then he gets it back, and he like, I don't actually remember the like whether he strikes him out or what, but like the team contributes to him getting back into his zone. And I think a lot of times we think that that stillness has to be created by us, and that's like a solo activity.
Yeah, and in a silo or something, and in a silo.
Right. Yeah, because like originally he is, right? Like he does it in his silo, he has his way to do it. But there's also like so many ways that that stillness can be created. And I think if we remember that that focus and stillness can be generated by a group, whether that's a marketing team or a community of people, or even just like your neighbors, it's that possibility exists, but only if we believe it exists.
So I have not seen that movie, but that's an excellent example. And look, I love the little anecdote in there around like eventually he couldn't be in the silo because they said that, you know, he needs to be able to hear, I guess, when it's time to go. Like he can't have those on. That to me, Tracy, is like the equivalent of like your marketing team being like, we don't have the budget to do this, so we have to figure out a different way of amplifying your message, and your community coming in and saying, hey, I'm going to talk about Tracy's thing, and I'm going to send it out to my email list. Like your community is on their own merit becoming a part of your process if you allow them to do it. So I love that, because it's true, Tracy. Sometimes we do try to practice stillness, but life doesn't always work out that way. Like life is going to happen, or some monkey wrench will be thrown into your engine. But if you're open to it, like community coming in on their own merit to be like, no, you know what, we got you. We're going to sing the song and stuff for you so that you get in your zone. Like that's just an excellent example of, I feel like marketing in a nutshell. Like having not even seen the movie, just the way that you described that plot point alone. Like, I mean, what else is there to say at this point? Like we can wrap this up and go home now, because this
was a great episode. Close it. Well, I feel like there's still many places to go with this. And I love what Gary is saying here about how stillness is the place where all the atmosphere is felt and understood. And I think that we do live in a world of like speed and efficiency, right? So
we talked about that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And so like choosing stillness is actually a choice that isn't the popular choice. It's not the common choice. People aren't choosing to slow down and have conversations with clients one-on-one. They want to talk about how can I scale conversations with and have so many, and you're like, but how many do you need to have, right? And if you're trading away what you get to feel for volume, then what's the point of that? Like, is it actually even capable of achieving its goal? Because what is the goal? The goal is connection. Like I can't connect to 1,000 people, but I can. This is the thing. Actually, I was talking to a new connection earlier today about the concept of like one-to-one versus one-to-many. And there's something that happens in our brains that goes from one-to-one is not scalable. It's not scalable because I'm only one person. I can only have so many conversations. And then we think one-to-many is like 1 to 1 million, Like, I need to get 1 million views on this ad and then it'll be worth me doing it. But like one to many is also, I don't like, there's like 8 people in the chat right now, right? Like we're having a one to many interaction right now with 8 people. That's 8 people who maybe, I mean, some of them watch the show on Monday, but like people of mine who are meeting Darnell for the first time, or people of Darnell's who are meeting me for the first time. This is a one to many opportunity that can also feel like a one-to-one. And there's so much possibility when we start to break down some of those silos and like, this is just 2 things. This isn't actually 2 things. It's on a scale, and it can like move and shift, and the energy that you have in one can be the energy that feeds another one. And but if we don't have energy, then yeah, we're the mess is like happening around us, and we're just now we're paralyzed. Our stillness is a I don't know how to say that in the context I was saying it, but like we are paralyzed in the middle of the mess instead of like choosing stillness so that we can observe how we can meaningfully participate in the mess. And then we end up in this like weird coasting thing where we're in like a dead space between being proactive and reactive. Not being proactive and not being reactive. I'm just sitting here coasting, not knowing what to do, but just doing stuff because I've been told I should do
paralysis.
stuff.
Yeah, analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
And no, but this is a really good segue, and I appreciate the people in the chat right now. Like, y'all keep the dialogue coming, and I love you putting what people are saying on the screen. You know, the brain of mine is like, I got to stay focused on this conversation, so I'm not looking at it too much. But when you put them on the screen like that's very helpful, and I do appreciate that. Yeah. But that's actually a really a great segue of that when you mentioned, Tracy, one-to-one versus one-to-many, because paradoxically, like marketing at its best should feel like Tracy, if you're marketing to me, just as a simple example, if I was your ideal consumer, me as the person receiving your messaging, I have to feel or should feel like she's talking directly to me, and maybe even only me. Like, she gets me so well, but you're talking to a bunch of people. So if you shot out an email broadcast, but I feel like you're speaking directly to me, like that's a great thing about what marketing can and should be doing. Like you're, and we often learn that we should pick a singular person that we should be thinking of and talking to, and should know that person well enough to introduce them at a party, like to even have them know them by name, like know them that well. Hey, this is my friend Tracy. We go way back. We do these things. If you can make one to many feel like one to one in your marketing and still be able to do that at scale, I feel like that's strong marketing, and it's very aligned marketing as well. That means, Tracy, what you intend to do when you put out your messaging and positioning, I'm receiving it as it's intended. And I'm speaking about your brand in rooms that you're not in the way that you want me speaking about your brand. That's when marketing works. And it has to feel like we have a one-to-one connection and dialogue. But you have many customers, right? You got an e-commerce store, just as an example. You sell shoes to many people, but I personally feel like these shoes that you're making, like, these fit me very well. And you know, to use a different metaphor, like if the shoe fits and stuff as well too, which was a cool improv moment. I didn't make that up, but anyway, one-to-one, man. And so I just love that paradox of, like, yeah, to your point, it's not a zero-sum thing where it needs to be reach 1 million people. If anything, I think that unmessy marketing, so neat marketing, it definitely feels ethical, and it feels like the entity knows you so well inside and out. It feels like they're speaking only to you, when the irony is that they're speaking to many people. Mm-hmm. And so, like, that's another one of those things, which is, I think, is the one of the one of the cool ways out. Stillness is not sexy work. It's kind of subtle and stuff as well too. It's not the thing that you wake up going, oh man, I really want to just be calm and focus. But if you can combine stillness while being in the eye of the storm and thinking of, like, one person that you're trying to reach, and then when you do that, when it's so niche, when it's so singular, like you somehow reach not a lot of people, but you reach more than that one person. because there are others like the one person that you're thinking of, even when you don't realize that there are. But it could be an underserved market. It could be a marginalized market. But if someone is serving them, like that's going to help your brand stand out and not be as messy.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I feel like contributes to the mess and the analysis paralysis is when we start to attempt to do exactly that. We attempt to connect one to many in with the driven by the other party first. So in marketing, very common, create your ideal client profile. And then you take that ideal client profile and you go and find those people. And now you're trying to create like a one-on-one relationship with them, but I don't really know those people. So if I really thought about that, what I would understand is if I took a whole bunch of accountants and put them in a room, I would know that not all accountants do the same type of accounting, have the same level of passion for numbers, have a family, have different cultural like there's dimensions of them that are different, even though I have categorized them as quote unquote my ideal client. So I put them all in a room and I stand on a stage and I say my pitch, because my pitch is the thing that everyone is going to attach to. And then I sit down and nobody comes to talk to me, because I have focused, I've taken that focus from my internal, what I would say, and I have tried to create a narrative for somebody who is not me, who I don't know, and I've made a bunch of assumptions that I don't even know are assumptions. And that's how I am attempting to do that activity, instead of coming back to myself and saying, like, what do I stand for? What do I believe? What do I naturally say? I was joking with my son the other day because I was telling him about how I make up words all the time. And like, I made up a word earlier in this conversation. Like, I make up words. It's what I do. You get it, right? Like, you get what I'm trying to say. But the point, like, I do that. But if I do that strategically, and that's not what I would do, because I think my clients might like it, then like this is adding to the mess. Right? We're actively creating mess. When, if I love it, the word you used, Darnell, was neat. If we're coming back to like neat marketing, like I would just say what I would say. What would I say about marketing? What would I say about the mess? What would I say about analysis paralysis? What would I say about stillness? Right? What would I say based on my experience, based on my knowledge, and giving myself the benefit of the doubt in that I know something, and what I might know might just be my experience of that. And I think there's lots of power in being able to say that. Like, I don't have that experience. I don't know how to fly a plane. Like, I'm not going to, but I'm also not going to show up and talk to a bunch of pilots and explain to them everything I know about flying a plane. I could do that, and that is like a huge waste of time for everybody involved. And so I think a lot of that mess originates from us making a decision that this is supposed to be all about the other people and not about me. I just have a solution. I got to help the other people. This is about me finding out about them and serving them. Yes, and it's about you doing that your way, in a way that is authentic for you, that is sustainable for you, that is scalable for you. And I think our concept of scale has gotten very skewed in the world of technology as well. We think everything is scalable, and everything is not scalable, and nor should everything be scalable. Not everything has to be scalable. And so again, like that's another example of these ideas that get layered in, and we're like, I can't even create. This happens a lot for entrepreneurs. Actually, is they're like, I have to create something that's scalable, because if I don't, I will never make any money. So I have to do a course, or I have to write a book, or I have to do these things. And I've had clients where I'm like, this is exactly the break point of your success, is you've decided this has to be scalable, when in fact you really love working with people one-on-one. And if you scale that into a course, you never get to work with anybody one-on-one. So now you're actively working against yourself, because what you want is this experience, and what your product has created is none of that. You don't get any of that experience. And so there's a I think there's an over obsession on scalability that hinders us, again, in an entrepreneurial scenario, in a marketing scenario. We're like, we can never do that unless it's going to scale. But me talking to customers, I mean, sure, if I'm working for Pepsi, like, no, you're not going to have a rep that just goes out and talks to people who drink Pepsi, right? Like, no, you're not going to do that. That doesn't make sense. But like, if you are custom software developer and you get $1 million projects, how many projects you got at a time? 10? Right? How many people are actively in the funnel at a time? 30?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't need 1,000 new views a day. In fact, you don't want 1,000 new views a day because you can't actually scale the operational part of your business that way. And so, like, again, let's just like take some time to slow down, look at stuff, and say, like, actually, I've been making some decisions that are assuming that this is true, but I don't think that's true. I'm gonna throw it out and then see what else becomes possible.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I dig it. I dig it. Should we? I know that the chat is going ham right now. So, should we pull anything from out of there and riff on that?
Let's see. So we got like, oh, first of all, I saw Amanda share this about her potato time, which I love the name of, by the way, which is what I call my built-in still time, when I disconnect from everything and just be quiet and not going. And I love that. And I would highly encourage people. I think more people are practicing that on their own time. And if you're a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, hopefully that's something that you're giving yourself space and time for. I think in a corporate working scenario, that's not happening a lot of time. If someone was like, we're all going to have potato time for 25 minutes a day. I mean, I think that sounds awesome. And like, I might recommend that for my teams. But like, most people are like, no, I pay you for those 25 minutes. You need to be doing something for those 25 minutes. And you're like, I am doing something. I am practicing stillness, which allows me to see things that other people can't see because I slowed down long enough to see them. I would love for more of that to happen in corporate. I love what Leslie is saying here about how stillness requires a good handle of our automatic fears. And I think the thing that's interesting about that is that they're automatic. Most of them are happening without us cognitively understanding that they are happening. And where do we begin to understand that they are happening? In stillness.
I love that so many people are resonating with this idea of these two things that didn't even seem that compatible, like stillness and marketing. Who would have even thought to put these two things in the same conversation? But that's sometimes how it is, man. Sometimes the obvious or the best thing that you can do is to go in the polar opposite direction of where things feel to be out of alignment. So when we talk about messy marketing and going in a silo, or being in a private silo with other people who are our collaborators or are in our communities, at least for a minute, like that to me feels like going the opposite direction of what feels like pulling you to be just wild with it, just too experimental, too reactive to everything. And I think that's one of the issues and it's not about like doing less marketing, but being in a space where you can create less noise, because again, it's just too much stimuli even. And so to tune all of that out to where there's less noise, to your point that we can be more singular and focused, to even have the revelation to be like, oh, okay, so marketing is this dance, is this courtship between who my customer is and my own values. And these two things should be in conversation with one another versus only one of those two things happening all of the time. Mm-hmm. But again, you got to get still to even arrive at that revelation. It's not going to come to you if you're constantly just reacting to things and just picking one thing to follow.
It's like you mentioned a dance, and like what I'm envisioning in my head is this like super spastic aggressive dancing that's like going all over the floor, and then everyone's like, oh, but I can't actually dance with that, right? So like I'm just gonna like slowly step away and like let you do your thing.
Well, pick West Side Story. Either of the cinematic adaptations. It's the ballroom dancing scene, and Romeo and Juliet, for all intents and purposes, see each other across the room. That's you and your customer amongst all of that noise that's going on, all of that dancing and chaos.
Yeah.
And that's when it works. That's when, oh, okay, I see my customer and my customer sees me. We see one another. Love at first sight, so to speak. But it's just like, as a consumer, it's like, oh, that entity gets me. And I feel like that's the one that I should be working with and buying from. These analogies are just coming off, man. That's like, we're making recommendations. Hardball, West Side Story.
Please watch West Side Story if you haven't. I actually watched to the soundtrack the other day because I'm a big fan.
Good. It's so good. Yeah, so good.
But you just said like a really simple phrase that I think a lot of people would be very well served with in marketing, is just looking at, in all of the things that you do, when do we see each other? When do you see your customer? And when do they see you? What's that moment? You want to talk about moments that matter? Like that's the moment. But we have all of these technology stacks that are taking the marketers farther and farther away from the customer. And we're like, yeah, this is great. We can do more scalability. And Coach Carrie, I'm coming to your question, which is related to the scale thing. See how we did that? That was like totally planned. Not at all. The flow, you go with the flow, and the flow makes it happen. They're like, I don't know, can you say that you have moments where we see each other, but you also have to like you got to slow down enough again for that to happen, right? Like I'm thinking about like the musical version of West Side Story, and in that scene, right, like it's like high school dance gym, right? Like, we've all been at one, right? Yeah. Crazy, noisy. People are trying to avoid certain people, right? Like that's what's happening. And then there's just like complete stillness when one person sees the other person, and everything like
gets out of focus. It gets quieter. It gets darker. It gets singular.
Yeah.
This is another great analogy for marketing when it works. This is an excellent example of it. And it's just like, yeah, I see you. And us marketers, us people in business, we have the opportunity to create those moments, because there's a lot of noise in marketing. And you maybe, as we say, you got like 5-10 seconds to impress a person that lands on your website. It may be the same thing when you're in that metaphorical ballroom and you glancing over there at your customer to make that thing work and to create that opportunity, because their attention is split in a gazillion different directions too. So if you're going to disrupt that, all of the other things that they could be focusing on, that's marketing that cuts through everything else. That's marketing that is direct, that is piercing, that probes through all of the noise, and it makes an instantaneous connection. And when you can do that, and that's all of the work that you've been doing, as they say, every overnight success is really 10 years in the making. Everything about your brand and who you are, to seize that moment where you have only those few nanoseconds to grasp that person's attention, that you're worth checking out. Because for all that they know, all of this marketing is created equal, and who should they pay attention to? But when it works, it works. You're locked in, and that's cleaner marketing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. This is so good. And we're like, let's see how many more movie references we can make in the remaining 20 minutes. So Coach Carrie asks, how would you teach your marketing clients to decide what to experience versus what to scale? You can only give away so many free experiences, right? Ooh, this is a very good point. And I'll add on to that is that, first of all, I think there's a small, like our bucket is small on what we think free experiences are, right? So like webinars, this is free experiences. But like, yeah, sure, a webinar is a very common free experience. But if you hate hosting webinars and they like don't light you up when you're doing it. It just feels like a drag. Like that, not probably the road that I personally would recommend that you go down. And it's also not scalable, even if, because I know there's multiple solutions out there that want to teach you the scalable webinar funnel, right? And like, here's how you do the webinar, and here's how you do the ads to the webinar, and blah, 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 blah. And theoretically, it's scalable. And it has worked for 5 people ever who have run the program. But if you don't like the way that that's done, if it's built on an urgency model, like close by midnight tonight and you'll get blah, 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 and that doesn't resonate with you, you will not close. It does not matter that the tech stack is scalable and or has been scaled by somebody else. Your input energy is mismatched to that. So one of the things that I always recommend is to like go experiment with stuff. So when you're out creating experiences for people, or even today, this is the best place to start. Where do you feel like you go today where you create an authentic experience of people, where you would say you are proud of them taking that experience away? Most people have at least one way they do that in a one-on-one scenario. So then the fun experimentation is, how could I take that vibe, or maybe it's a mindset or a belief that leads me into one-on-ones. I like to consider my one-on-one conversations adventures, because I'm meeting a new person and I don't know who they are and I don't know what they know, and like that's adventurous to me. So I can make that fun. I can do that because it feels fun for me. But it's not that I'm having coffee chats, right? It's that the mindset I bring into my coffee chats that adds to the energy. And so if you can tap into a thing that you can identify today that does give you energy, which I would actually say for most people, it falls outside of what they consider marketing. So erase boundaries around what you think marketing is, and then be able to extrapolate that to something that you like to do. I have clients who have made their marketing system hosting wine tastings. Or going to the grocery store. Ask me about that one if I haven't told you about it before, right? Like, these are possible marketing systems, and those things only match those people, right? It's not like I would go to the room and be like, everyone should host wine tasting nights and then you'll get all the business, right? But this is what people are trying to convince you about live streams or podcasts or books or email funnels or any of those. But none of that is real. There's just ways to use the tactics that match you. And so if you can roll that back to what are the experiences you create today where you're like, yeah, that's a super authentic experience of me, and if I could scale that, that'd be cool. That is the place to start, and then start to do experiments on how that could actually reach more people. Keeping in mind what we said earlier in the conversation, which like to scale doesn't mean you have to reach 1 million people. No, I can't have 1 million one-on-one conversations, but nor do I need to have 1 million one-on-one conversations. So it's irrelevant. Any of your thoughts on that, Darnell?
Yeah, just the facet of there's this idiom in marketing that's basically saying, like, I'm paraphrasing, but you give away the what and you sell the how. And I think that that's one of those things that at this point is pretty much near objectively true in terms of like when you, because I know she was asking about like how do you decide which, basically like what to sell and what to give away for free, but that is a way of looking at it. And I like that example that you gave of like wine tasting, because I love to pull from different industries, but it's like, you know, there's a reason why that works. There's a reason why you're giving a person a sample of an experience that they could have a larger element of. So it's in a winemaker's best interest to do those. Like that's their marketing budget is based on we're going to have to crack a few bottles, and we're going to have to set up shop at a Total Wine or something like that, and host these parties for free for customers so that they get familiarized with what I have to offer. So Tracy, when you were talking about a webinar, it's like, okay, yeah, webinar is a wine tasting to a deeper experience or something with you. And if you can give away possibility for free, or get people to imagine a better scenario, and you can paint that picture for them, and you can give them an arc that they can follow, whether it's through a webinar, whether it's through a wine tasting, just from the experience of tasting something, then what you need to sell, like how you actually make money, becomes easier, because you've made the connection point make sense to them. You've given them a sample of what it is like to work with you in some way, and you've given them just the right amount of keeping things high level enough to where you're not overwhelming them, because that's also important. We have a tendency to over explain things, or give people what they don't need to know at a specific point in their consumer buyer journey. So you got to imagine them on a timeline to say, well, what do they need to know to lean in? What breadcrumbs do I need to leave for them that leads to the cookie jar, basically? And every little crumb needs to feel organic and inevitable, and be aligned, so that they're following that thing, and they're picking up what you're putting down. But that happens when you can give them a total experience that is not overwhelming, that is lightweight enough, and that is not too much in depth, because that's what you sell, that deeper, rich experience, whether it's proximity to you, whether it is your IP, whether it is accessibility and responsiveness. There's different ways to value what it is that you do, but you got to give people those samples and stuff first, especially in today's world, because everybody's got the trust blinders on, and we need to be lowering those trust barriers. And when we give something away for free, we saying, well, we got nothing to lose, and we're making it a part of our marketing budget anyway. Every book writer, they get 50, 100 copies to give away for free, to give away to your friends, to give away to people to read, your peers and influencers, and hoping that they might say something about it. That's part of your marketing budget. So you make that a part of the experience. Samples.
Yeah, I love this, because one of the things I often encourage my clients to think about is that if you had to sell your product or service at a farmer's market, what would you do? Right? Because the number one thing that gets people to stop their path is a sample.
Costco does it. The Costco's, BJ's of the world, right? Farmers markets.
It works, right? And so the thing that's interesting is when we think about being service providers, or maybe you're a software writer, or you're a coach, or you're a consultant that works in complex environments, right? It's not as easy as being like, oh, I sell cupcakes, so I'll make mini cupcakes and show them to people. But the concept is the same. What is the mini thing that's fun for you to give away, that you could give away and feel good about giving it away to people who are going to taste that and be like, I don't feel like chocolate today, right? Maybe if this was cookies and cream. And then not judging yourself because you're like, oh no, I only made chocolate cupcakes today. I should have made cookies and cream. No, there's going to be somebody who wants chocolate cupcakes. It's just not that person. And it's not that person today. They might come back later like, oh man, now it's my son's birthday and I need chocolate cupcakes, and I had these chocolate cupcakes and they're great, so I'm just going to go and get those. We don't often think about it in that way of I always say marketing is free, right? We might put money into it, but it is always consumed for free. I don't charge someone to consume an ad, right? Marketing is consumed for free. So I have to do the things that I feel good with someone consuming for free. But if I am selling cake and my thing I'm giving away for free is a cake slicer, right? You don't actually get to taste my cake, right? But if I give you a cake pop, then you do get to taste my cake in just a very small amount. And so I'm still giving away a thing, come back to the free, right? But is it a thing that is effectively communicating to the people who are accepting it? Again, not everyone will accept it. That is a good sample of who I am and what you get if you come and hang out here. Ooh, Leslie is saying she would have a small tent for witchery coaching. I mean, there's some people who would be like, what is this? And there'd be some people that are like, what is that? technically they're saying the same words, but the like underlying input into them completely different.
Yeah, man. So I so I back during I think it was our first conversation, you had talked about that you feel like marketing isn't it shouldn't be about convincing, or you don't, I forgot how you had phrased it, but convincing, trying to convince people to do something, even in an ethical sense, is not how you would is not your way into marketing. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I say this all the time. I mean, so based on data, right? Data would say that marketing does a terrible job convincing anybody doing anything. It doesn't. Marketing's greatest opportunity is in alignment. And so I show up and I'm like, I make chocolate cupcakes. And you're like, I love chocolate cupcakes. Right? Like, or you don't love chocolate cupcakes. But like, I didn't make chocolate cupcakes knowing that you love chocolate cupcakes. I make chocolate cupcakes because I want to make chocolate cupcakes. I also am not going to be able to convince you to like chocolate cupcakes if you don't like chocolate. Right? Like if you're like, no, I don't, or I'm sugar free and I don't eat that kind of stuff. Right? Like I can try till I'm blue in the face to convince you to do a thing, but it is going to serve of us in the long run. What makes most sense, especially if we're talking about speed to market, is that I make chocolate cupcakes because everyone else is making every other flavor and nobody's making chocolate. So I'm gonna make chocolate. It fills the gap. And this is my idea of what fills the gap, right? Like I have a hypothesis. My hypothesis is that the world needs chocolate. And so I'm gonna make chocolate cupcakes. Or like my hypothesis is that people need more authentic marketing. So I'm going to go and I'm going to be that, right? That's the thing I'm going to do. I don't know. I can't data collect to the point where I know precisely who is in the market for chocolate cupcakes today, or who is in the market for authentic marketing today. I go and I do that thing. My marketing is showing people what I have. I have chocolate cupcakes. Do you want chocolate cupcakes today? And not like overly questioning myself when I'm like, oh, okay, well, that person didn't want chocolate cupcakes. Nobody wants chocolate. No, that's not true. That person doesn't want chocolate cupcakes, or people don't want chocolate cupcakes today, or like, okay, we can test some other things. Maybe there's no market for chocolate cupcakes, but people love chocolate. And so like, I'm still pretty sure there's a market for chocolate cupcakes. And so come back to this because I want to, at the end of the day, I want to make chocolate cupcakes. I don't want to make other cupcakes. I like chocolate. I want to make other. I've actually, fun fact, never made a chocolate cupcake. So this analogy is quite interesting. But like, I do that because I want to. And when I make a thing and you have decided in your own brain with no interaction from me that you've already decided throughout your entire journey that you would love a chocolate cupcake today, then you buy a chocolate cupcake. It's not that complicated. But when we overcomplicate it. Again, we add to the mess of this by saying about like, no, I need to teach. I'm gonna say this very clearly. Educating, what most people consider educating in their marketing, is being treated like convincing. If I just educate people enough, they will know that they need this. That's convincing. So you can call it educating all you want, but it's the underlying activity is convincing. If I teach them this, they'll understand, and that's convincing. That's not a thing. And I'm not saying don't go teach people things. I think it's very helpful. I feel like I teach people things lots of the time, but not so that I convince them to buy a thing. I teach them because I know it and I feel like they don't know it. And maybe if I share it, it could create a new possibility for them. But we can't. It doesn't work. And sales, this is where sales gets a bad rap because like you're convincing people to do something they don't want to do. The best salespeople never do that. They align a business problem that someone has that they've been able to identify with a solution. That's it. And so if marketing can do that, if sales can do that, then we create a very easy connection point for these things. Otherwise, we end up creating more mess. We're back in that reactive, right? I got to go chase these people. I got to convince them And I don't think, I mean, maybe there's some people out there who get like jazzed by the idea of having to convince people to buy their stuff, but it's not me, right? Like, that doesn't light me up. That gives me like a sense of anxiety in my body. And if that is where you're starting from, then like you're going to have a weird anxiety driven marketing experience, which is not going to be enjoyable for people to consume. So like now you have like there's not a weird funk in the chocolate cupcakes that you're like, I'm not sure what this is, but I think there's an ingredient in here that's bad. Right? Like you're probably not going to come back to that cupcake place, even though you might have been like, yeah, I was really into getting chocolate cupcakes, but not those chocolate cupcakes. Like those ones are weird.
Yeah, you were the one who kind of put me up on game around alignment, because I approached that conversation way back when of like, I called it like ethically convincing to someone to take an action that they might not have otherwise known existed.
Right.
But I approached that conversation with a willingness to challenge my notions and to use more aligned terminology such as alignment. And I think in the example that you had given, like even the chocolate cupcake ones, and I know, and we'll be mindful of time as well too, but it's a great thing to, a great taste to leave in people's mouths as we get closer to wrapping up. But so first, one thing that came to mind is context and environment matters. So when you show up when you show up with your chocolate cupcakes in this marketing analogy, like don't show up at a place where a bunch of diabetics are hanging out or something like that, right? Or in a dark alleyway.
Or like the We Hate Chocolate Club.
So that is an important component that is not to be understated, that like environment and where you show up does matter. So that's the difference between again, showing up where you're very unlikely to find people who are even in the market for that versus people who have an open mind to those things. And then the second component was using your example in a marketing context, usually in business, where we are all thinking about problems and solutions. And even something like chocolate, like something that no one needs, I think that there's a story around a problem and a solution. A simple example, like, and I'm just freestyling or something here, is like the problem that your potential customer that's walking by in that grocery aisle is having is that they want to taste something new, and they want a feeling of lightness and just joy or something. Like it's been a bad day or something like that. They want something to lift them up. And your chocolate cupcake provides a solution to that problem that they might, and they've never heard of a chocolate cupcake before. They've never seen it before. So you not only have to give a sample, but there's some educating, so to speak, to be done on, okay, what is this thing that I've never tried, that I've never heard, but that Tracy tells me is going to immediately lift my spirits. Like, this is going to be the best thing that I taste all day. And this is going to just, leave you feeling joyous. And I think when you can do that, even entertainment, being a form of escapism. We talked a lot about movies and stuff here. So a problem, so to speak, that people have, it could be based around their day to day. And what you bring, even if it's chocolate cupcake, even if it's a form of entertainment, could be positioned as a solution, even if that's just internal language. But this way, Tracy, you have at least some degree of demand for what a person wants, even if they can't describe what it is that they need. That's where diagnoses come into play. Like, you're the one to say, oh, chocolate is going to be the thing that lifts those spirits up. Like, you tried everything else. So you have a chance to give away the diagnosis for free, to be able to let the person know what the problem is, identify it, and make them aware that there's a solution that exists, this chocolate cupcake. Now you're selling it to them, because you've made them aware, you've given them, you've identified the problem, you've diagnosed it, and you've told them there's a solution, and here's what you can pay for it. Like, in a simple example, like that's, again, another example, Tracy, of just of marketing, bringing it to very, very simple, basic terms of even something like chocolate, and being able to at least think of it internally for an analogy around problems and solutions could be a great way forward, and something that people can take away from this conversation.
Yeah, I think it touches on a really important idea too, Darnell, which is, what are you selling? Like, this is, and we're talking about movies, so I'm going to talk about one more. Like in The Greatest Showman, when the one, like the critic guy is like, does it bother you that everything you sell is fake? And he's like, the smiles are real. Like, what I'm selling is joy. Right? And yeah, okay, maybe we stuck a beard on a lady. But like, the enjoyment that people are getting from this is real. That's the thing that we're selling. And I think,
and people will pay for joy in droves too, by the way.
yeah. And there's so much, even in when we think about the like hard product that we're selling, and maybe you're selling life coaching, or maybe you're selling financial advice, or maybe you're selling a chocolate cupcake. Regardless, there is potential joy to be had at the end of that process, but also through the process. To tie this back to the middle, right? Like, it's nice to say like, okay, I'm just going to buy the CRM system and I'm going to install the CRM system and it's going to be magic, right? But then you're like, what? That's not a thing, right? Like, there's the goodness and the experience, the human experience of the things is in the middle. And so I think we have opened a huge can of potential worms for people today, and like a whole bunch of different things that you can try in terms of the middle and how we might change our perspective and how we could create some more power in some of those things. But this is our opportunity to go back to where we started. Well, kind of the middle of the conversation, I guess, which is the stillness, right? Like, let's be brave enough to slow down, take a look, understand our experience of our participation in the mess. And if we are feeling like it's just swirling around us and we're like a sideline participant, let's get up, let's participate, and let's see, how do we want to play this game so that I can give people the most delicious cupcakes that I can, regardless of whether or not they close later. I think this is a really powerful thing that we can take away from today. Darnell, another fantastic conversation. Darnell, for the people who don't know you, who would like to get connected with you, where is the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, great question. So on LinkedIn, which is obviously where this is streaming right now. So yeah, you should see my information on the event page for here. So that's my only social that I have these days. So LinkedIn, as well as at darnellbrown.com, where you can get a little bit of information on me. So a simple landing page set up. And I also give some information around Forge, but those would be the only two places. And I also have a podcast out called Forge and Flow. So that's another place if people want to hear bite-sized nuggets around things in terms of creative entrepreneurship, that's where you can find me, giving you some, hopefully some earworms.
Things to think about. We like to call them on their show. And for those of you who are not new to the show, one of the call outs that we always do at the end is that, especially when we're talking about the mess is big. The mess is somewhat permanent, right? There will be times in our lives where we are participating in it again. So coming to one conversation and assuming we know all the things we need to know is folly. And so if this is something that you are actively trying to navigate, please connect with Darnell, connect with me, connect with each other, and stay in the conversation about what it looks like for you to navigate the way through your most beautiful mess. And until next time, everybody, permission to do you. We'll check you. I was going to smash up check and catch together. And this is what I said to my son the other day. I'm like, mash up words. We will check you next time. Bye, guys.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. Bye, y'all.